This evening in our studio, we have two gentlemen who are regular contributors to this program. They are founder directors of Dwellings Group. Dwellings Group is an enterprise engaged in a variety of business activities, especially in the field of investment and management in the construction industry. Last time we met, we spoke about Brexit and its effect on the world economy, with particular emphasis to investment in Sri Lanka. This morning, we are going to focus our discussion on the ways and means available to expatriate Sri Lankans on investment and managing their properties, both locally here in Australia as well as in Sri Lanka. The two gentlemen are Navin De Silva and Sanjika Abeyratna. Good evening to both of you.
Good evening, Bandu.
So Sanjika, last time we spoke about Brexit.
Yes.
And today we are going to focus our discussion on the ways and means of available to our expatriate Sri Lankans to manage their properties both here in Australia as well as in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So I know that you have an offices here in Australia as well as in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your activities in Sri Lanka?
Yes, Bandu. Now, for many years we have been supporting people in Australia, expatriates in Australia, and Sri Lankans investing in Australia to have their investment properties in Australia, especially in Melbourne. And now we have opened up office in Sri Lanka to bring the property management services to Sri Lankan market as well. And we are the first Australian company who managing properties both in Melbourne and as well as in Sri Lanka. And also on top of property management, we do property sales, construction, and finding tenants and doing auctions and things like that in Sri Lanka as well. And more importantly, Bandu, Sri Lankan property market is less regulated compared to Melbourne. Right. So therefore, irregularities are higher in Sri Lanka. So we are bringing down same professional practices back to Sri Lanka.
So that means, Navin, like the real estate agents, what they're doing here in Australia, you do providing the same service in Sri Lanka in managing investments and other properties.
Exactly. Say, for example, if you go to Colombo, you get 1,000 brokers who does real estate, but there's no proper format or procedures to follow. So what we want to do is to, especially for the expatriates community, they are really skeptical and scared to give something to a broker. Mm-hmm. And the end result being they close their properties until they come for their vacation.
And also, I mean, see, maintenance of those properties is a problem too, isn't it?
Okay.
So in that respect, do you undertake to do those things as well?
Yes. So from the Sri Lankan concept, what we do is in terms of regulating the whole process, we make sure we sign a lease agreement with the tenant and the landlord, as well as registering that in the High Court of Sri Lanka.
Right. Can you elaborate on, you mentioned sales as well. Now, say, for example, I know that there's quite a lot of people here who wants to sell their properties back home in Sri Lanka. Mm-hmm. So with that respect, can they get in touch with you?
Yes, of course. We do sales in Sri Lanka, and also we reach out to international markets when it comes to sales. Right. So we're not only trying to sell the properties within Sri Lanka, but we are reaching it to Dubai, we are reaching it to UK, US, and different parts of the world. So you can get best customers, best buyers, and you can achieve higher selling rates rather than just trying to focus on Sri Lanka. And we are one of the very few companies who do that in Sri Lanka.
Right. So that means you have offices or agencies in Dubai and all those countries as well?
Yes. We have office in Dubai as well as we have agents in US, UK and Germany.
Right. So, on the other hand, now here in Australia, you're not acting as are you acting as a real estate agent here in Australia as well?
Yes, we are.
So that means we can entrust you with our properties with the understanding that you do the maintenance and sales and all these other activities.
Correct. The key differentiator with us is we have a lot of real estate agencies in Australia, but being local. We want to expand, we have expanded to the whole of Melbourne. So whether it's a north, south, east or west, we have properties all around Melbourne where we manage.
Right.
And we can manage properties anywhere in Melbourne.
Now, Navin, is there a truth in that these days it's difficult for foreign investors to buy properties here because there's some restrictions in bringing the money? Is there?
Yeah, it is not the money factor. It's more of lending criteria.
I see. It's not the money. If you have the money, you can buy. But
In terms of lending, it used to be 75% of the property value.
Right.
Which
you can borrow it here locally.
Yeah, it used to be, and
Right.
not anymore. So all the banks have closed down the parts for foreigners to borrow in Australia.
Right. So that means even if I have a small deposit, say about 20-30% of the deposit, I can't borrow the rest here.
You cannot borrow from the big banks, but there's a lot of private lenders who have come to the party, and still you can borrow up to about 65% of the property value, but the lending fees are a little bit higher than it used to be.
Right. But do you facilitate that
Yes,
service?
yes.
You do.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to buy any property here, within the government regulations, because it has to be a new property and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you obtain all these foreign.
Yes. Still the same process, it's just that the lending criteria is a bit different now.
That's all.
Yeah.
So the lending criteria means that you will be able to find some funding
Yes.
towards the purchase
Correct.
as long as you have a recent deposit, but not through the big banks.
Big banks.
Okay, so Navin, now I know that you sort of embarked on a new venture in Sri Lanka. Can you elaborate on that? Yeah.
Yes, we have tied up with Haley's PLC,
Yeah.
specifically with their hotel at Amaya Beach in Pasikuda.
Right.
And we are selling 50 of their rooms at $45 a night to the investors. And in return, we are going to resell that at over $100 a night during that year. So as an investor, if someone is interested, you have to pay 1 year in upfront, which means it's $16,000 US plus the taxes, which comes to about $19,000 US dollars.
Right.
Which equals to about 25,000 Australian roughly.
So what's the benefit? Rather than purchasing an property outright, so this, for your $16,000 you pay upfront. What do I get in return?
Yeah, as an investor, so it's a leisure investment. Whenever you want to go to Sri Lanka, you can go and stay at the hotel free of charge.
Right.
That's your room. And as well as whenever you're not there.
Even during peak periods?
Yeah. During any period, you can go and stay in your hotel room.
If anybody leases that, you get
Correct.
the
So
fees.
roughly, if you have about 50 to 60% occupancy in your room,
right,
you're going to make about 20% return on your $16,000 investment.
20% return on that.
Yeah.
And that's an ongoing thing.
That's
So supposing if I want to resell it?
No, it's more of a lease, Bandu.
It's a
you
lease.
lease out the room for 1 year,
Right.
and then it's an agreement for 1 year, and if all goes well, you can continue for another year.
Right.
And
So
then you can
at
terminate
the
if you
end
want.
of that year, you're out of the lease and
Yes.
that's it.
Yeah.
So, what sort of guarantees are there, or how do I make sure that my investment is bringing in enough returns?
Yeah.
What measures, in terms of advertising and that sort of thing, are there?
The most common question we get from all investors. Unfortunately, there's no guarantees offered by Haley's, which is difficult to do, I guess.
But Haley's is a reputed company.
Yes. And the current occupancy rate is about 45 to 60%.
Right.
So with the stats and with the income of tourists into Sri Lanka, we are very, very confident that you can achieve that 50 to 65% occupancy
Right.
in the hotel room. So 20% is decent decent return, and rather than keeping the money in the bank, it is a good choice, and also the investment is very, very low.
And other thing is, on top of that, if someone buy this room, the total management of these rooms, taking bookings and transferring money across to your Australian accounts and things like that, total care will be provided by our office in Colombo. So also we sell these property rooms to tour operators, our own tourism, and also to various booking sites. So then you get much more booking opportunities for your room, so you can get your money.
So if I go into this lease, I don't have to worry about my own advertising and that sort of thing.
No, not at all.
We take care of the whole
We
thing.
take care
Yeah.
of the whole thing.
And all I have to do is the bank on the statistics and also the current trend
Yeah.
of the growing demand for rooms in Sri Lanka.
Yes. Another thing is, if you have friends and family going to Sri Lanka, you can offer them to go and stay in your room at a half rate, or if you can offer them free, whatever your choice.
Right.
So that is another advantage.
So
of this.
that's something that your company is offering, right? So Sanjika, last time we spoke about Brexit.
Yes.
Now can we talk about the new world economy after the new president
In
Trump
US.
in US?
Yes, this is a very interesting question asked by a lot of people, because Trump being direct and taking decisions, very quickly. So even though it creates certainties in some areas, some markets, but
Yeah.
it also creates uncertainty.
Yeah, actually,
across
see,
the world.
I think none of us know what is the end result yet.
Yet.
Or it's very vague. But
Yeah. So
what, in your opinion, what will?
So, in my opinion, if we narrow down the focus to investments, how that impact to the investments, especially now US, they have exit from TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, and
Yeah.
also they have introduced travel bans from 7 countries, refugees coming to US, and they're looking at doing various other things in the recent future.
Right.
So this could create some uncertainties in that side of the world. And also we had a uncertain area after the Brexit. So with all these things, which create an environment for Australia, that we have a safe haven for investors.
Safe.
So my view is that investors are now looking at places like Australia. Even in Australia, US, if you look at the election results, let's say 50% of people not voted for Donald Trump. Now they have uncertainty in their future in the country,
Right.
so they are looking at investing in safe places like in Australia. So this will have a long-term good impact for Australian property investments,
So there
and also
is-
good for Sri Lanka as well. I
So
think.
there is a more demand created because of that for investment in Australia. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because Australia is far away from all these issues. We are far away from US. We are far away from Europe after Brexit. So this is a less problematic area, and also we have lots of natural resources, and our property prices are going up, and this will add up to that. So then, if someone looking at investing in Australia, I think this is the best time to get into.
Right. Even with this Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement is not there.
Not there, but countries like Australia will have a least impact out of that.
Right. So, I mean, most of the countries who are in the pact are the countries, in the border of the Pacific Ocean,
Yes.
which includes Canada,
Canada,
Japan,
all these
and
countries.
all these countries. So, maybe that they do something without US.
Yes.
Right. In any case, so in your opinion, the impact is much less here in Australia.
It's
And
much
we have
less.
also seen a lot of interest coming in.
Yes.
If you look at the US few years ago, Chinese used to invest there,
Yeah.
Europeans used to invest there, Arabs used to heavily invest there, but now it has created a big uncertainty, and we have got a lot of inquiries. The level of inquiries have increased dramatically to invest in Australia, because there's no other place for them to make up their mind.
Yeah,
Right.
and even if you look at the statistics, Chinese investing US, that was the #1 destination for China.
Right.
So Australia used to be the second. Now it has toppled. Now China is looking at investing in in Australia because of the uncertainty happening in the US side of it. There are some money transfer regulations in China, but the uncertainty create overcome that problem, and people are looking at investing in Australia.
I see. Okay, so that means, so we are in the right place.
Of course, yes.
We're in the right time at the right place if you are looking at investing in here, because property investment is always a long time game.
I know there are a lot of uncertainties. Even in India, I mean, Modi disbanded all the high currency notes, thinking that it will help the economy and bring about reduction in corruption, and also all this money hoarded under people's beds will come out and get into the economy. But the latest statistics shows that India's overall growth has reduced.
Because these kind of problems, you cannot turn around overnight. So it has to be properly regulated and executed properly. So it takes time. But Australia being a country with political certainty and less corruption compared to those Asian countries, people are more comfortable investing in here when we have problems.
Unfortunately, our economy is more stable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Sanjika and Navin, is there anything else you want to add to this discussion?
Yes. Now we are offering some service. I'll tell the first one. Because we are the first company doing property management here in Melbourne as well as in Sri Lanka. If we have landlords who are giving properties managed to us in Melbourne, if they want to manage their properties in Sri Lanka, we are giving 50% reduction in the management fee for the customers who are giving property management here. And Navin, you can explain the other one.
Okay, at the same time you can say how does one get in touch with you, the telephone numbers and so on.
Yeah, I mean, you can get in touch with us at info@dwellingsgroup.com.au.
Right.
And also our number is 1300 314 310.
Right.
On top of that, we are also having a campaign for landlords in Australia. We are going to waive off the first 3 months of management fee for everyone who is joining us in the month of February 2017.
Okay then, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in and elaborating on those issues. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bandu.
दूर नो दूर करना हे तेरा में तेरा वेलेना उबुदा नैन मना युदुम यन मग विदानिवना
विश्वसिसारा विश्ववाहिनी।